Surah Al-Zalzalah talks about the day of judgment and the major events that will happen then, and also about people's reckoning for everything they did in their lives, whether small or large. When the earth is shaken with its quake, on the day of judgment, the entire earth will shake with a strong earthquake, one that has never happened before, and everyone will be afraid and amazed. And the earth will bring forth its burdens. The earth will bring out everything buried within it, those who have died and the things beneath them, and the human will say, "What is the matter with it?" At that time, people will be astonished and very scared, and they will say, "What is happening to the earth? Why is it moving like this?" On that day, it will reveal its news. On that day, the earth will speak and recount everything that happened on it, whether good or bad, as it will bear witness to people's actions that your Lord has revealed to it. And all of this is by the command of our Lord. He is the one who instructed the earth to speak and witness all that happened. On that day, people will emerge in separate groups to be shown their deeds. On the day of judgment, people will come out of their graves individually to see everything they did in the world and be held accountable for it. So whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it. Anyone who does good, even something as small as an atom, will see it before them and receive a good reward. And whoever does an atom's weight of evil will see it. And anyone who does evil, even something very small, will also see it and be held accountable for it. The verse reminds us that the day of judgment will be a day, and everything we did will be clear and exposed. We must account for it and do good as much as we can, because this good will be with us on the day of judgment. And be cautious of anything bad, even if small. Have a conscience and do, even if it's a small good deed. Remember that everything you do, God sees it, and you will be held accountable for it on the day of judgment. It is the true day of justice, and everyone will see the result of their work in this world. The image of the charger speaks about the power of horses running in war as a symbol of strength and order. Then God says that most of the time, humans forget God's grace upon them and love the world and money greatly. The image reminds us of the day of judgment, and that everything we have done or hidden in our hearts will be revealed, and God will hold us accountable for it because He knows everything. The message is that we should be grateful and sincere to God and think about the afterlife. And by the chargers snorting, God swears by the horses that run very fast in battles, and the sound of their breath becomes very clear. Then the strikers with sparks. And when these horses run, they produce sparks from the friction of the hooves against the ground. Then the raiders at dawn attack the enemies suddenly at the beginning of the day, raising clouds of dust as they run quickly, creating a lot of commotion around them. And finally they charge into the enemy ranks with strength and order. The image of the galloping horses speaks about the power of horses running in the heat as a symbol of strength and order. After that, God said that most of the time, humans forget God's favor upon them and love worldly life and money greatly. The image reminds us of the day of judgment, and that everything we did or kept hidden in our hearts will be revealed, and God will hold us accountable because He knows everything. The message is that we should be grateful and sincere to God and think about the afterlife. By the charging horses snorting, God swears by the horses that run very fast in battles, and the sound of their breathing is very clear, so the pace becomes quicker. And when these horses run, they generate sparks of fire from the friction of their hooves with the ground. Then, they launch an attack suddenly at dawn, and there is a dust with it. When it runs fast, a lot of dust spreads around and penetrated into the midst of the enemy ranks with force and organization. Surah Al-Qaryah is a Meccan surah that talks about the day of judgment and explains how terrifying and great that day will be, and people therein will either be saved or doomed based on their deeds. Let's explain it in colloquial terms. The striker. God begins the chapter by talking about the striker, which is another name for the day of judgment, and it is called that because it will strike the hearts and minds with intense fear and terror. What is the striker? God is asking us, do you know what the striker means? He wants us to think about how great and difficult that day is, and what can make you realize what the striker is. It means no matter how much you try to imagine, you will not be able to grasp the reality of what will happen on that day due to the intensity of panic and fear. On the day when people will be like scattered moths, on that day, people will be like dispersed moths flying everywhere in confusion, not knowing where to go due to intense fear, and the mountains will be like fluffed wool, and the massive mountains that we saw as firm and strong. It will be like wool scattered in the air, meaning nothing will remain as it is. But as for the one whose scales are heavy, meaning his good deeds are many, and weigh down his balance, he will be among the successful. So he will have a pleasing life, living in the bliss of paradise, a life full of contentment and happiness. But as for the one whose scales are light, as for the one whose good deeds are few and sins prevail, he will be among the doomed. His mother will be the abyss. His fate will be in the abyss, which is the fire of hell. And what do you know about it? God says, do you know what the abyss is? It is a blazing fire, a very intense fire, a very terrifying fire. The image of the lottery warns us about the day of judgment, the day of terror and panic when people are in great fear. Those with many good deeds will enter paradise and live a beautiful life. But those with few deeds and filled with sins, their fate will be the fire of hell. We must pay attention to our balance of deeds and enrich it with good acts and obedience, knowing that this world is temporary and the hereafter is everlasting. We should fear that day and prepare for it with deeds that please our Lord. Surah At-Takathur is a Meccan surah that talks about the people who occupied themselves with the worldly life, collecting money and numerous possessions, and forgot the hereafter. And it reminds us that all this will not benefit us when we die. Al-Hakum At-Takathur, distracted by accumulation. God is telling people that they were distracted, meaning they were too occupied to worship God because of their love for gathering many things, whether money, possessions, or even children and a comfortable life, until you visited the graves and stayed in this state until you died. And being buried in the graves means you didn't benefit from what you were accumulating. Surely you will know. God is saying you will soon know the truth when you're held accountable. Then, no, you will surely know. And it is repeated to emphasize that you will truly know how wrong you were. No, if you only knew with certainty, if you truly knew the reality of the hereafter with absolute certainty, you wouldn't have wasted your life in vain. You will surely see hellfire. Our Lord warns them that they will see hell in front of them on the day of judgment. Then you will surely see it with the certainty of sight. They will not only see it, but they will be right in front of it, seeing it with their own eyes.
To see hell, our Lord warns them that they will see hell in front of them on the day of judgment. Then they will see it with certainty, not just see it, they will be right in front of it and see it with their own eyes. Then, on that day, you will be questioned about the blessings, and in the end, God will hold you accountable for all the blessings you had, like health, money, and time, which you wasted and did not thank God for. Surah Al-Takathur tells us that people get busy collecting money and things in this world and forget that they are temporary and that the hereafter is what's lasting. God warns us that we will see hell if we don't improve ourselves, and He will hold us accountable for all the blessings He has given us. We must remember not to waste our time collecting things that won't benefit us in the end. We must remember that we will stand before God and be judged. We need to use the blessings we have, like health, money, and time, in worshipping God and doing good deeds.
The image of the era is a short and powerful Meccan image that talks about the importance of time in a person's life, and that if it's not used correctly, one will lose. God swears by time, which is very important in our lives, to make us understand how valuable time is and that we shouldn't waste it. That mankind is in loss. Almost everyone is losing because many of them waste their lives on unimportant things and do not do what they are supposed to do, except those who believe and do good deeds. But not everyone is at a loss. Those who are saved are the ones who have faith in God, believe in Judgment Day, and do good deeds like praying, helping others, avoiding wrongdoing, and advocating for truth. And they advise each other to do what is right and to speak the truth, no matter the situation. And they encourage each other to be patient, whether in hardships or in maintaining their commitments to God. Because success in this world and the hereafter requires strength and patience. Surah Al-Asr says that all people are at a loss if they don't use their time correctly, except for those who believe in God and do good deeds. Your time is your life. If you waste it, you will be at a loss. You must have faith and patience, do good, and encourage others to do what is right to succeed in your life and the hereafter. The Surah of Al-Humazah, a Meccan surah, was revealed to explain the punishment for a person whose life is filled with backbiting others, whether through words or even gestures and actions, like mocking someone or belittling them to seem superior. God threatens these people and says they will be an intense fire that spares nothing, breaking and burning everything, reaching their hearts because they lived their lives selfishly and without mercy for those around them. This fire will enclose them, and they will be tied within it with continuous torment, with no hope of escape. Woe to every slanderer and
Our Lord
backbiter.
says,
This means a severe threat and torment for everyone who backbites people with speech, or mock them with gestures or actions, the one who gathers wealth and counts it. This person whose entire focus is on collecting money and counting it, every time he sees more money, he thinks he's doing great. He believes that his wealth will make him live forever and protect him from death or anything, all for us to be cast into the crusher. But God says no. This money will not benefit him, and he will be spoken to with the crusher, the fire that breaks and burns everything.
And what do you know about the crusher? Do you know what the crusher is? It's a very strong and mighty fire, God's kindled fire. This fire burns with intensity, a fire from our Lord that rises up to the hearts. This fire doesn't just burn the body from outside, it also penetrates their hearts and makes them feel terrible torment. It is secured over them. The fire will close in on them, leaving no way to escape. They will be bound to massive pillars inside the fire, with no escape or respite. Surah Al-Humazah talks about people whose main concern is backbiting and mocking others, and all they think about is money, believing it will protect them and make them live forever. Our Lord says that their fate is a severe fire, and it will be a very difficult torment for them. It teaches us not to backbite or mock people, and to understand that money is not everything. We need to think about our afterlife.